Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you must stop looking back and start breathing again. The past is heavy only when you keep carrying it on your shoulders, when you keep replaying the scenes that broke you, and when you keep judging yourself for moments you did not understand at that time. Healing begins the day you decide to put the weight down, not because the past magically disappears, but because you finally choose yourself. You finally choose peace over pain, growth over guilt, and hope over fear. Your past is a chapter, not your identity. And when you truly understand this, something inside you becomes lighter. You stop treating every mistake as a lifelong label, and every failure as a permanent scar. A chapter is a moment, a season, a piece of your story that once mattered but no longer defines who you are becoming. Yet many people keep living inside that old chapter as if the rest of the book does not exist. They keep repeating old conversations in their head, reliving old pain, replaying old regrets until their present becomes nothing more than the shadow of yesterday. But life is not meant to be lived like that. You were not sent here to stay stuck in one painful moment forever. There are times when you look back and feel ashamed of the choices you made, the people you trusted, or the opportunities you lost. You might question your worth because of how someone treated you, or blame yourself for not knowing better, but the truth is, you did the best you could with the understanding you had at that time. Every decision came from the level of wisdom and strength you held then, not the wisdom you have today. That difference alone is proof that you have grown. It shows that the person you were is not the person you are now. When you evolve, your past naturally becomes just a chapter, something you visited, something you learned from, but not something you are required to carry forever. Sometimes the past feels heavier not because of what happened, but because of how long you have held on to it. You might hold on out of fear, thinking your future will repeat what you experienced before. You might hold on out of guilt, believing you do not deserve to move forward yet, or maybe you hold on because your wounds became familiar, and letting them go feels like walking into the unknown. But even then, you must remind yourself that familiar pain is still pain. It destroys your confidence, limits your courage, and steals the beauty of the present moment. When you detach your identity from your old stories, you start to understand that you are allowed to rewrite yourself every single day, with every new thought and every new choice. The past prepares you, shapes you, and teaches you, but it does not imprison you. You are not bound to the person you were when you made your worst mistake. You are not stuck in the version of yourself that was hurting, confused, or lost. You are allowed to grow beyond it. You are allowed to be softer, smarter, stronger, and more aware. You are allowed to transform, and transformation never comes from staying inside old chapters. It comes from turning the page. Even when your hands are shaking, when you accept that your past is just a chapter, you stop giving it the authority to decide your future. You stop letting old heartbreaks control how you love today. You stop letting past failures control how you dream. You stop letting old judgments define your worth. You begin to rise from the inside slowly, rebuilding the parts of you that once felt broken. You start noticing the small changes. The way you speak to yourself becomes kinder. The way you see life becomes clearer, and the way you walk forward becomes more confident. This is the power of separating your identity from your history. It frees you. It refocuses you. It gives you permission to breathe without the weight of everything you once carried. Your story is so much bigger than your past. It is so much wider than your wounds. Every day you wake up, you get a new page. You get a fresh opportunity to live differently, think differently, act differently, and create differently. The chapter behind you cannot stop the chapter ahead of you unless you allow it. And when you finally understand that you are not the character who got hurt, you are the author who can rise, rebuild, and rewrite. You begin living with a new kind of strength that comes from within. Healing starts when you choose to move forward, because healing is never something that magically appears on its own. It begins the moment you decide that you are tired of carrying the same pain, tired of repeating the same memories, tired of letting yesterday write the story of today. You may not be able to control what happened, but the decision to rise, even with trembling steps, belongs entirely to you. Many people believe that healing requires time. But the truth is deeper than that. Healing requires choice. Time only passes. You are the one who must choose what to do with it. And when you choose to move forward, and a little, even slowly, something within you starts shifting. Something begins to breathe. Something begins to come alive again. Moving forward does not mean you are suddenly strong or fearless. It means you no longer want to stay in the same emotional place that has drained you for too long. It means you are ready to stop reopening old wounds, stop blaming yourself, and stop expecting the past to change. Healing comes from the understanding that what happened cannot be rewritten, but your future can be. It comes from accepting that pain might have shaped you, but it does not have the right to control you. When you choose to take one step away from your past, you also take one step toward your own freedom, your own peace, and your own growth. There will be moments when moving forward feels impossible, especially when the past keeps calling you back with memories that hurt. You will feel emotional pulls, sudden waves of sadness, and the temptation to revisit what broke you. But healing is not a straight line. It is a gentle, fragile process. Some days you will feel strong, and some days you will feel like you are falling apart again. That is not failure. That is healing. It is the courage to stand up after every emotional fall that creates true progress. The moment you say, "I want to move ahead," life begins to align with that intention. Your mind begins to adjust, your heart begins to soften, and your steps, even if slow, begin to carry you forward. Choosing to move forward also requires letting go of the idea that closure must come from someone else. You do not need apologies to heal. You do not need explanations to heal. You do not need people to come back and fix what broke. Waiting for that only keeps you stuck in the story you are trying to escape. Real healing begins when you say, "I can close this chapter myself." It takes strength to accept that some people were lessons, not destinations, and that some moments were meant to teach, not to stay. When you let go of needing validation from the past, you give yourself the power to create your future. Healing happens when you start being kinder to yourself, when you forgive yourself for the mistakes you made, when you stop punishing yourself for decisions you did not know any better about, when you allow yourself to feel pain without judging yourself for it. Moving forward is an act of self-love, an act of self-respect, an act of taking your life back from the hands of emotions that once controlled you. With each decision to move on, your heart learns to trust itself again. Your mind becomes clearer and your soul becomes lighter. You will also notice that healing starts when you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of those who hurt you, when you stop believing the lies they made you feel about your worth. When you stop letting their absence define how you see yourself. Moving forward teaches you that your value does not decrease because someone failed to appreciate you. It teaches you that your strength does not disappear because someone walked away. It teaches you that you can rise on your own, rebuild on your own, and shine on your own. Every small act of moving forward becomes a quiet victory, even if no one sees it. It becomes the moment you choose peace over pain, growth over fear, and hope over memories. Healing is not found in the past. It is found in the direction you are choosing to walk toward. Mistakes teach you. They don't define you. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you free yourself from the invisible cage that regret builds around your mind. Every mistake you ever made carries a message, a whisper of wisdom hidden inside the discomfort and shame you once felt. But most people never hear that message because they are too busy judging themselves, too busy replaying the failure, too busy punishing themselves for not being perfect. You must remind yourself that perfection was never the goal. Growth was. And growth cannot exist without mistakes, without wrong turns, without moments that force you to wake up, rethink, and reshape your path. Mistakes are like mirrors. They show you the parts of yourself that need attention, the habits that need changing, the beliefs that need upgrading. They are not there to label you as weak or incapable. They are there to guide you toward a stronger, clearer version of yourself. There are times when a single mistake makes you doubt everything about who you are. You begin to think you are not worthy, not smart enough, not strong enough simply because something went wrong. But your identity is not measured by one chapter of your life. Your identity is not built from one failure or one wrong choice. You are a collection of lessons, experiences, and moments that shaped you over time. When you view mistakes as definitions, you limit yourself inside outdated stories. But when you view them as teachers, you realize that every wrong step was part of a bigger journey toward becoming wiser. This shift changes everything. It softens your self-criticism and strengthens your self-awareness. It teaches you that falling is not the opposite of success. Staying down is mistakes. Expose the areas where you need growth. But they also reveal your resilience. Think about the times you fell emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You did not stay in that place forever, even if it felt like you might. Something inside you pushed you to stand again, even with shaky legs. That inner push is the real you, not the temporary fall that made you question yourself. Every time you make a mistake and rise again, you build emotional muscles that cannot be learned through success alone. You learn patience, humility, responsibility, and the powerful ability to face discomfort without running from it. Mistakes shape a deeper wisdom within you, the kind that cannot be taught in calm moments. Wisdom grows in the fire of experience. Many people fear mistakes because they worry about how others will judge them. They hide their failures, pretend to be flawless, or stay silent about the battles they face. But mistakes remind you that you are human, that you are still learning, that you are still evolving. No person you admire has lived without mistakes. They became who they are because they learned from the places where they once stumbled. If you look closely at your life, you will notice that some of your best decisions, your strongest skills, and your biggest transformations came right after a difficult mistake. This is the hidden beauty of failure. It breaks you open just enough for growth to enter. Mistakes also teach you about people. They show you who stands by you in your low moments, who laughs at your struggles, who supports your healing, and who walks away. A mistake often reveals truth more clearly than success does. It shows you the genuine hearts and the disguised ones. It teaches you about loyalty, empathy, and the importance of choosing your circle wisely. These lessons are priceless and cannot be learned through smooth paths. Mistakes open your eyes to realities you would have never discovered otherwise. Most importantly, when you stop letting mistakes define you, you reclaim your power. You stop viewing yourself as someone broken and start seeing yourself as someone growing. You stop letting guilt control your decisions and start letting wisdom guide you. You begin to understand that every mistake carries a lesson. Every lesson carries growth, and every bit of growth brings you closer to the person you were meant to become. Letting go creates space for new beginnings. And this truth becomes clearer the moment you stop gripping the parts of your life that have already completed their purpose. So much of your emotional weight comes from holding on to what has already ended, replaying conversations that no longer matter, and keeping connections that no longer feed your soul. Letting go is not the act of forgetting. It is the act of releasing the emotional attachment that keeps you stuck in the same chapter. When you let go, you do not lose anything meant for you. Instead, you make room for clarity, peace, and possibilities that could never enter your life while your hands were still full of what was hurting you. Many times life tries to give you something better, but you are too busy holding on to what is familiar, even if it is slowly draining you. The moment you loosen your grip, the moment you create space, new beginnings quietly find their way to you. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering. It means you stop forcing things that were never aligned with your growth. It means you stop expecting old situations to give you feelings they were incapable of giving. When you finally stop holding on to what is breaking you, your heart starts healing without permission. Your mind starts breathing without pressure. Your life starts unfolding without resistance. The peace you have been searching for often lies on the other side of letting go. But reaching that side requires courage. Courage to release the stories your mind has repeated for too long. courage to walk away from the versions of yourself that no longer feel true, and courage to trust that something better is waiting for you in the spaces you free up. Letting go also asks you to let go of control. So often the pain of holding on comes from trying to control outcomes, trying to change people, trying to rewrite endings that were already written. But no matter how hard you try, you cannot force someone to value you. You cannot force life to unfold according to your timeline, and you cannot rewrite the past into something perfect. The more you try to hold on, the more you delay the new beginning that could change everything for you. Letting go is an acceptance that some things are out of your hands, and that releasing them is a form of protection, not loss. It is an act of trusting yourself enough to know that you deserve better than what you had to walk away from. There will be emotional resistance because letting go often feels like stepping into emptiness. Your mind will cling to memories, your heart will revisit old feelings, and your ours will whisper that letting go means losing something important. But every time you release something that no longer aligns with your growth, you create emotional space for something that truly does. You start noticing shifts within yourself. Your thoughts become clearer, your decisions become stronger, your energy becomes lighter, you feel more present, more aware, more connected with your own needs and dreams. This empty space you create is not a loss but an invitation for new lessons, new people, new opportunities, and new versions of yourself. Letting go teaches you more about yourself than holding on ever will. It shows you your strength, your emotional maturity, your ability to detach from what you once believed you could not live without. It shows you that peace is possible, that healing is possible, that a future different from your past is possible. Letting go makes you realize that sometimes the thing you fear losing is the very thing blocking your happiness. When you release what weighs you down, you rise naturally. When you release what hurts you, you grow naturally. When you release what is finished, you open doors that would have never appeared if you had stayed stuck in the same place. New beginnings are not miracles. They are the natural result of letting go. You are stronger than the moments that broke you. Even if those moments made you feel weak, lost, or completely shattered at the time. Strength is not measured by how perfectly you handled the pain. It is measured by the fact that you survived it, lived through it, and kept moving despite feeling like everything inside you was falling apart. So many of the experiences that once hurt, deeply became the same experiences that shaped you, built you, and revealed a strength you didn't know you had. When you look back, you will notice that every storm you walked through left behind a version of you that was more aware, more grounded, more awake to life. Those breaking moments did not end you. They opened you. They pushed you toward discovering who you are beneath all the layers of fear, doubt, and hurt you once carried. It is easy to look at painful moments and believe that they took something important from you. But the truth is that they also gave something back. They taught you resilience. The kind of resilience that cannot be learned in peaceful times. They taught you patience, the kind that only comes from enduring something that tested every part of you. They taught you clarity, the ability to see what truly matters and what never did. And most importantly, they taught you self-reliance, the understanding that even when everything collapses around you, you still have the strength to rebuild your life piece by piece. You might not have seen your strength in the middle of the struggle, but it was there every moment, quietly helping you breathe, helping you endure, helping you rise again. Sometimes the moments that broke you also broke your illusions. They revealed truths you needed to see. They exposed people who were never meant to walk the journey with you. They uncovered the weaknesses, fears, or old wounds that you needed to confront. Breaking moments do not happen to destroy you. They happen to remove what was limiting you, whether it was a person, a belief, a fear, or a version of yourself that you had outgrown. You survived situations that felt impossible at the time, and that survival alone is proof of your strength. What hurt you did not have the power to stop your story. It only became a chapter that made the rest of your story stronger. The strength inside you shows up in quiet ways. It shows in the way you keep loving even after being disappointed. It shows in the way you trust again even after betrayal. It shows in the way you try again even after failure. It shows in the way you wake up every morning and choose to keep going despite the heaviness you once carried. Most people do not realize that strength looks like softness, patience, understanding, and courage. It looks like choosing peace over chaos and healing over bitterness. It looks like refusing to let one painful moment shape your entire identity. Your strength has been growing silently through every step you took after being hurt. You are stronger because you learned how to carry your pain without becoming it. You are stronger because you turned your wounds into wisdom. You are stronger because you refuse to let darkness turn you cold. And this strength is not temporary. It is now a permanent part of you, a foundation that will support you through all future storms. You may still feel the memories. You may still feel emotional waves. You may still feel moments of weakness, but none of that erases the strength you built from your past. Strength is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet stability you carry within you, the steady belief that no matter what comes next, you can handle it because you have handled worse before. Every breaking moment taught you something about your own power. You learned that you can survive heartbreak, disappointment, rejection, failure, and change. You learned that you can rebuild yourself, even when you feel empty. You learned that you can rise even after falling apart, and every time you rose, you proved that you are stronger than anything that tried to break you. Growth requires releasing old versions of yourself because you cannot step into who you are meant to become while holding on to who you used to be. Every stage of your life shapes you in a certain way, builds certain habits and creates certain mindsets that helped you survive at that time. But as you evolve, some of those habits become heavy, some of those beliefs become limiting, and some of those older versions of you no longer match the goals you now wish to reach. Growth is not about adding more to your life. Sometimes it is about subtracting what no longer serves you. It is about understanding that holding on to outdated versions of yourself delays your progress, limits your potential, and keeps you stuck in a cycle that no longer aligns with your future. Old versions of yourself exist because at some point they were necessary. Maybe you built walls to protect your heart. Maybe you stayed silent to avoid conflict. Maybe you accepted less because you didn't know your worth. Maybe you pretended to be strong because no one came to support you. These versions served a purpose, and honoring them is part of self-respect. But honoring them does not mean you must become them forever. Growth demands that you recognize when a version of yourself is no longer helping you move forward. When you outgrow emotional patterns, relationships, or even identities you once held tightly, it means you are ready for something bigger, and letting go of these old versions is not betrayal. It is evolution. Releasing old versions of yourself means releasing old fears too. Many people stay stuck in their past selves because fear convinces them that change is dangerous, that stepping into a new identity is too risky, and that comfort is safer than progress. But comfort is the enemy of transformation. Growth happens when you dare to step into the unknown, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels unfamiliar, even if it demands a new level of courage. Old versions of you want to stay where things feel predictable. New versions of you want to explore possibilities. The gap between the two is where transformation lies. Growth also requires letting go of the old stories you repeat to yourself. Stories like, I'm not good enough, I fail at everything, people always leave, or I'm not meant for success. These stories are not truths. They are reflections of who you were during a difficult chapter. When you keep repeating them, you keep reliving the emotions attached to them. But when you break those stories, when you rewrite them with self-awareness and compassion, you free yourself from an identity you outgrew long ago. Your past self may have lived in pain, but your present self is allowed to live in confidence, clarity, and hope. Sometimes releasing old versions of yourself means letting go of relationships too. People who only know the outdated version of you. People who expect you to stay small because it makes them comfortable. People who feel threatened by your growth, or people who cannot understand the mindset you are stepping into. You are not obligated to shrink yourself to match who you were for people who refuse. See who you are becoming. Growth asks you to build new boundaries. Protect your energy and surround yourself with people who support your evolution rather than fear it. Letting go of old versions of yourself also means letting go of your old reactions. When you grow, you stop reacting from pain and start responding from clarity. You stop taking everything personally. You stop allowing small things to disturb your peace. You stop seeking validation from people who do not appreciate you. You begin to act from maturity, wisdom, and emotional depth. This is proof of growth. When your behavior changes because your self-awareness has expanded. Every time you release an outdated version of yourself, you make space for a stronger, wiser, more aligned version to rise. Growth is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, like choosing peace over chaos, discipline over excuses, and purpose over comfort. You start noticing small shifts in your thinking, your choices, your habits, and your goals, and slowly you realize that the more you release who you were, the more you step into who you are meant to be. Forget the pain, keep the lessons, and rise again. Because the pain you experienced was never meant to become your identity. It was meant to become your teacher, your guide, and the foundation on which you build the stronger version of yourself. Pain leaves marks, yes, but those marks do not have to be wounds forever. They can become reminders of your strength, your survival, and your capacity to grow. When you choose to forget the pain, you are not pretending it never happened. You are simply choosing not to let it control your life anymore. You are choosing to stop carrying it like a burden and start treating it like a lesson. A lesson that shaped you, refined you, and prepared you. Keeping the lessons means recognizing the wisdom you gained, the awareness you developed, and the resilience you built from every difficult moment you endured. Pain teaches you what you need to avoid and what you need to embrace. It teaches you about people who deserves a place in your heart and who does not. It teaches you about boundaries, what you should allow and what you should never tolerate again. It teaches you about your own soul, what breaks it, what heals it, and what helps it grow. When you focus on the lessons instead of the hurt, you give yourself permission to move forward without bitterness. You stop replaying the same memories with the same emotional intensity. You stop blaming yourself for what you didn't know then. You stop seeing your past as a scar that limits you and start seeing it as a classroom that shaped you. Every difficult chapter in your life becomes meaningful the moment you extract the wisdom from it. But keeping the lessons is only the middle part of the journey. The final part is rising again, because no lesson is complete until it pushes you back into life with renewed strength. Rising again means refusing to let your past define the rest of your story. It means standing up even when the world expects you to stay broken. It means believing in your ability to rebuild even when everything inside you feels tired. Rising again does not require perfection or confidence. It requires willingness. Willingness to try again, to trust again, to hope again. Each time you rise after falling, you prove to yourself that your spirit is unbreakable. You discover that you carry a strength within you that pain could not destroy. There may be moments when rising feels impossible because the memories still sting and the wounds still feel fresh. But healing is not about erasing the past. It is about removing its power over you. You begin to rise slowly with small steps, with quiet changes, with subtle shifts in how you think and how you respond. You begin to rise the moment you decide that you deserve better than the version of life that hurt you. And with each small rise, you rebuild trust in yourself. You rebuild your courage. You rebuild your identity. Pain tries to weaken you, but rising again strengthens you in ways you never expected. Rising again also means embracing your new wisdom. You no longer walk blindly into the same situations. You no longer ignore the red flags you once overlooked. You no longer settle for less because now you know what you deserve. Your past becomes a source of clarity, not confusion. The lessons you kept become tools that guide your choices, protect your heart, and elevate your mindset. This is the beauty of rising. You do not rise as the same person who fell. You rise as someone wiser, someone more aware, someone who understands the value of peace and growth. Forget the pain, keep the lessons, and rise again also means learning to forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself for staying too long in the wrong place, for trusting the wrong people, for ignoring your intuition, for losing yourself while trying to save others. Self-forgiveness is the doorway to rising. Without it, you remain stuck in guilt and regret. With it, you become free to build a new chapter with clarity and courage. And as you continue rising, you realize that your story is not shaped by how many times you fell, but by how many times you had the courage to stand again. The future needs your focus, not your fear, because the future is shaped by the direction of your attention, the choices you make today, and the mindset you carry forward. Fear pulls you backwards, keeping you tied to old stories and limiting beliefs that no longer match the person you are becoming. Focus, on the other hand, moves you forward, helping you build the life you imagine, one decision at a time. So many people give more energy to their fears than to their possibilities. They imagine everything that could go wrong, replay every painful memory, and allow doubt to overshadow their dreams. But the future does not respond to fear. It responds to clarity, effort, and faith in your own potential. When you shift your focus away from what scares you and toward what inspires you, the path ahead begins to open. Fear is loud, persistent, and persuasive. It convinces you that you are not ready, not capable, not enough. It tells you that your past failures will repeat themselves, that your dreams are unrealistic, and that you should stay safe rather than step into the unknown. Fear thrives on uncertainty, feeding your mind with worst-case scenarios. But the future is built on the choices you make despite that fear. Every time you choose focus over worry, you take back control of your direction. You start leading your life instead of reacting to old patterns of insecurity. The future becomes less intimidating and more inviting when your mind is no longer clouded by fear. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it becomes stronger the more you practice it. It starts with deciding what truly matters to you and committing to it with discipline, even on days when motivation is low. Focus requires you to choose your thoughts intentionally, to redirect your mind each time it wanders into doubt or negativity. When you place your attention on your goals, your routine, your growth, and the vision you hold for yourself, you begin to generate momentum. Small steps become larger ones, delayed progress turns into visible change, and slowly you build a future based on direction rather than hesitation. Focus is not about ignoring challenges. It is about refusing to let those challenges overpower your purpose. The future becomes clearer when you stop feeding your fears with imagination. Most of the things you worry about never actually happen, yet they drain your energy as if they are already real. Fear stops you from trying, which is the only guarantee of failing. Focus pushes you to try, to act, to take responsibility for the life you want to live. Your future does not need you to predict every problem. It needs you to develop the strength to handle them when they come. And the more you focus on growing, the more confident you become. Because confidence is born from consistency, not perfection. When you give your future your focus, you begin to see opportunities that fear would have blinded you to. You start noticing solutions, meeting the right people, attracting better experiences.